Welcome back to Inside the World of Box Lacrosse. It is our section on a preview of a game coming up this week. And Adam Levi, I'm Steven Stamp. We took a look at the schedule and said, what jumps out at you? Had to be Colorado at San Diego.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. There are a couple games on our radar this weekend, but Colorado, San Diego, the two teams that I think, especially Colorado, for me, are looking very impressive. We've kind of always known, especially after last season, that they need to be healthy in order to be successful. Well, that's proving to be very true right now. Dylan Ward looks more like Dylan Ward, thank goodness. I think we all need him to be playing very well in this league right now. But to see Ryan Lee coming back and looking healthy and playing consecutive games now is also a huge sigh of relief. But just the way that they're spreading the ball looks great. They look solid all over the floor. I'm really impressed with them. And I'm sure you have equally positive thoughts on San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing, too, with Colorado for a moment is Ryan Lee coming back. 1 point in his first game, definitely looked like a guy coming off, missing a whole bunch of time to massive knee injury or, multiple knee surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he was getting a feel for it. I thought he still looked in the early stages of their game last week like he was getting a feel for it, but he was just looking so sharp. And I wrote about this in my musings, I think, or maybe in 5 Things We Learned, how he just looked so much more comfortable when he didn't have time to think, because so much of it is a mental game when you're coming back from a knee injury like that. And you just have to believe that you can cut. And if you think about it, there's one goal he scores early on where he takes a jump shot and jumps up his left foot, lands on his left foot, keep that right leg off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when he was just cutting like the old Ryan Lee. So it's interesting. I mean, he's the guy you really focus on because he's coming back. But Connor Kelly, Zed Williams, Eli McLaughlin, so much happening there. In San Diego, bit of an interesting start for them. In their first game, they didn't want to give up 15 goals, but they scored 18. The new trio of Benesh, Hellier, and McIntosh, outstanding. Ryan Benesh at the top of the league or near the top of the league in scoring and leading the team. Chris Riglieri, of course, is the big question because they go out and give up those 15 goals. A tough start for him in Georgia, and then he played much better later. But I know before the season, people wanted to say, hey, he's an elite goalie. And I was questioning in my season preview, is he? I said, there's a whole series of adjustments that you have to go through, and it's a process. I think he's a very good young goalie. I think he's going to be a very good goalie long term. But those are the kind of things you're going to go through with a 22-year-old.
Yeah,
when he's your guy in the pipes.
His starts, letting in 8+ goals in back-to-back starts this season in the first half. Obviously, that's not what we've seen from him throughout his NLL career so far. But yeah, I think he's got, as you're saying, he's got the potential, and he's shown that potential, especially last year where it looked like he was on that doorstep of really showcasing that he can be that elite goaltender. So hopefully he can find that way because, when you're facing an offense that looks as dialed in as Colorado, you can't be letting in 8 goals and a half.
Yeah. It's interesting. If you do a breakdown, where like a pregame where you put the different categories, the different elements of a game and give a check mark to one team or the other, who you think has the edge. Right now, if we have that up there, beside goaltending, who do you have the edge for? Chris Riglieri in San Diego, who was a finalist for goalie of the year last year, or Dylan Ward, who was pretty far down the list in terms of top goalies last season.
Yeah, and Dylan Ward, he does look like he should be back in that goaltender of the year conversation right now. So yeah, I think right now Dylan Ward has that edge, and so that'll be interesting to see. However, I think one thing that's going to be interesting to see how the Colorado defense handles this is that you've got so many guys now that can do so much all over the floor, push the ball in transition. Zach Currier is really the way that he's been involved with the offense, and you've got Adam Noakes, who's kind of stepped up as a role player. Then you've got Trent DeChico, who's also been involved in things. If there's going to be a fast tempo kind of game, how is Dylan going to handle that?
Yeah, and I find that very interesting. Transition was the next thing I wanted to talk about because Currier obviously is a huge factor. And it's interesting that Currier, like you said, has been playing some offense, Trent DeChico playing out the front door for the most part. So, San Diego's kind of going with the guys they had before out the back door. Eli Gobrecht has a couple of goals. I'm not sure we saw that, but he was a great, great player 2 years ago, then dealt with some injuries last year, similar to Dylan Ward and Ryan Lee and others. For Colorado, I think Jordan Gillis is one of the underrated transition players in the league, and he hasn't really like jumped off the screen in their first couple of games, so he hasn't had to. The offense has been so great, but he's a guy who could be a breakout guy as well.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that really like you never hear his name probably often as you should, and he's been around for quite some time now, and it seems like he's always goes underrated. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. And kind of tying into our last segment, when you see Joey Capito have a goal in his first game and played well with Georgia, who can really kind of slot into that role and be that kind of player for Colorado.
And it's interesting, Jordan Gillis, you're talking about him being underrated. He was a 6th-round draft pick. And I remember, I'm going to give some props here to, oh my gosh, who was it that, before, going into that draft, I was hearing, oh, you got to put this kid up. He's like the best D-tranny guy in the draft. And I was like, I don't know. I had him kind of middle range, fairly high, and goes 6th overall. And it was just, it was like crazy how fast he got good in that league. I mean, he was playing with prime Joey Capito and fit right in as a 1A with Capito right away.
Yeah, it has been very interesting to see. I'm actually just trying to bring up his stats right here, and it's like, even if you look at what he's done already, I mean, he's got a goal, he's got 8 loose balls, which is obviously you'd probably want that number to go up a little bit through 2 games, but 2 caused turnovers. He's really showing he can do a little bit of everything, which is exactly what you want from one of your lead transition guys.
And it was Neil Doddridge. By the way, I give Dodd some props because he was adamant. He's like, this is the best kid, and I bought into an extent from what I saw of him, but maybe not enough. He was right on that one. Everyone gets their players they love, right, going into a draft, and boy, he nailed this one. So what else are we looking at this weekend? Because I think you've got Colorado, like we said, is on such a roll. What a great start for them. San Diego, I mean, they're 1-1. I don't think they're thrilled with either game. I mean, losing to Georgia, they obviously wanted to bounce back after they'd given up 15 goals, but they got a win in their first game. You want to dial things in. What trajectory are we seeing? Because Colorado's looked great. Can they keep that going? Nobody's winning 18-0, right? Nobody's going to win 18 games this year, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you that no one's going to win 18 games. And in fact, with the strength of the teams and the way that things are looking and the competitiveness, I think that this really is, as advertised, is going to be one of those most competitive seasons, and rightfully so, with losing a team and also just the amount of talent that has come into this league. But yeah, I think San Diego really does need a good, solid performance, because even in their first game against Philadelphia, it was one of those games where they really were grinding it out, trying to figure it out, and then they made it work. But and I know that they had opportunities to kind of pull away in that Georgia game, but couldn't get it done. So they really need to have a statement win. Whereas for Colorado to have that 3-0 start against the roster that we've just been, applauding and have been through this entire season in San Diego, if they can really pull out a win there, and if it's convincing for them, are we now talking about Colorado as a true top contender for the championship this year?
Great question. And Greg's pulled up while we're talking, he's pulled up the game predictions. I know that can come and go as he edits, but I'm curious. First of all, Blue Squatch has done pretty well here. Oh, the Yeti 4-1.
Wow.
So far,
Paul's killing it. If it wasn't for I think he got lucky last week. We'll see how the season pans out. I don't know. It's hard early season. So something you've told me last year that has always stuck with me is that your creative offensive guys, you can expect Lyle Thompson to go off early in the year. As the defense gels together and as you see these teams kind of fill in. So I really didn't expect Buffalo to be so good off the start. That really took me for a loop, I tell you.
Yeah, that's one thing. At the beginning of the year, whenever we're doing predictions, and honestly, I don't love doing predictions because you're going to be wrong so often for so many reasons. And like 5 minutes into a game, you're like, yeah, this isn't going the way I thought. But the one thing about doing predictions early in the year, I tend to go, if one team has played a game and the other hasn't, like you're in week 2 or week 3 and the team's making their first game, I almost always take the team that has already played a game because I think it's a huge edge. but then I go against it sometimes, and sometimes it works out really well, and you're like, okay, I figured out the system, and other times you're like, nah, I should have stuck with it. So I don't know. I'm picking. It's funny, the Colorado San Diego game. I picked Colorado at first, and then I flipped to San Diego. I don't feel good about picking either, which means it looks like a good game.
I'm going Colorado for that game.
Okay.
I do think it's going to be a good game. I just think right now I've seen them on a roll. Until they stop rolling, I'm gonna keep rolling with them.
Do you want to do quick picks for all of them? Have you done picks for the week?
I have not, but yeah. Who do you got for that first game of the week? Is the Buffalo Ottawa game, which I think it could be a sleeper for game of the week.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's going to be good. I actually picked Buffalo in that one because I think they're just rolling so well, and they've just come in with so healthy this year. I think that's a big difference. And Ottawa had such a big week last week. It's hard to maintain that momentum when you've started something big like your new venue.
Right, and it's going to be an exciting return for Kyle Buchanan and Cam Wires, who get to go back to Ottawa and obviously play for the opposite team, but still nice for them to have a homecoming of sorts. But yeah, I mean. I had Zach Higgins, I think, is my goaltender of the year, right? So if I'm not picking them, although, I mean, I can't, I think at this point, how can we even explain Matt Vince and what he's doing? Like, honestly, like, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, especially at his age. It's kind of wild.
Rochester, Vancouver, I'm going Warriors. I don't think they lose 2 in a row to start the season. I think Kurt Molosky wakes them up pretty sharp after the game they had last week.
I think you're exactly right. I have an article on Inside Lacrosse actually coming out before the game this week. So, and it was talking with Coach Molosky, and yeah, he wasn't happy. A few bright spots for him, Owen Grant being one of them, but not a lot else going on there. So he was really pushing the team to want to be better. So I think that's what we're going to see. Plus Rochester, although I am speaking to Coach Hazen later today. If they don't have Hartley back, then that could be a rough night for Rochester.
Yeah, we're going to talk about goalie of the year award leaders later. I think Riley Hutchcraft's actually been pretty good for Rochester, but yeah, getting Riley Hartley back is important. I've got Philly over the Desert Dogs. I see Philly getting a win in their home opener.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be I think a much needed win that they need to bring. But I spoke to Coach Rubel actually earlier this morning, and he was saying that they're incredibly excited to bring in this club for this new kind of rejuvenation that they've kind of built over the offseason. So I think Philly wins.
Calgary at Albany. I think the Firewolves are one of the best teams in the league. They're at home. I'm going Firewolves all the way on this one.
I am as well. But as Calgary proved, I mean, who knows? Plus, by the time this comes out, there might be breaking news in terms of Calgary. We don't know. Apparently, there is a player signing that is about to take place. So I don't know if that alludes to me that would probably be a Tyler Pace incoming for Calgary.
You should have left it lingering. People might have thought it was Del Bianco, which we're pretty sure it's not.
Yeah, I would, but I don't want to like tease them too much. That would break their hearts if he didn't play.
That's right. Toronto at Georgia. I like the Swarm a lot. I just can't see the Rock, even with the injuries they're dealing with. I can't see the Rock losing 3 in a row, so I take the Rock. Yeah,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Would love to pick Sawyer's brain if Brad Cree is going to be playing in this game. Obviously, the injuries we'll have to see if Tom Schreiber and Latrell Harris are back. It's interesting because you talked about first games and people not playing. Well, Georgia's coming off their first game and the first win against a big team, and now they're coming right back on another one. So I'm going to say Georgia for me.
That's not a bad pick. I mean, based on form,
yeah,
it's Georgia, but I'm just saying I just don't see the Rock playing that badly again.
Yeah,
and if they go out and score 5 goals again, I'll look really silly. But.
Yeah, I think it'd be only the 4th time that Toronto had started 0-3 in their 26-year history. So it doesn't happen often. Hasn't happened.
And it hasn't gone well for them when they have, has it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
No. Halifax is in Saskatchewan. I have the Rush as my rising team of the year, and I'm taking them in this game. I just think they looked really good against Albany, and I think they may be better than what they showed there.
Yeah, I think the rush, and it was kind of nice to see in pretty much power rankings across the National Lacrosse League landscape have the rush in rising or in solid positions. And I think that they are going to be the team that probably will end up being the most improved by the end of the year based on what we've seen so far and based on what their roster is. So I'm
Hang
going.
on, make up your mind. Is it Colorado or Saskatchewan?
That's
Colorado
true.
finished last, man.
Yeah, so I would say those two are the ones. Colorado. Oh, that's a good point. Now that you're putting me on the
Thank
spot
you.
there, that's a good point.
You can't love everybody all the time, Adam.
I do. So I'm going to say Colorado has a more improved season, but I think the Rush are going to have the second most improved season. There we go.
There we go.
Cover the first two games again real quick, just so the Mammoth, San Diego, and Buffalo. I was getting the icons while you guys were talking about it.
San Diego and Adam took Colorado.
Yep.
And the first one, I was Buffalo and Adam was Ottawa.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm already looking at them and saying, oh, I could have both of those wrong. But I'm going to stick with them and I'll probably get them both right. Because if I change them, I'm going to get them wrong.
Yeah.
When
does Saskatchewan play Colorado on the schedule? Now I'm excited for my two hyped up teams.
I don't know. We'll look that one up and make that a game of the week preview coming up in a little while. Hopefully they do. I mean, well, everyone plays everyone, so yeah, we do know they're going to play. That'll do it for the preview section of the week, and we threw in the predictions kind of against our will. No, just it was pushed on us, and we did it. But that'll do it. I am Steven Stamp. He is Adam Levy. Remember to subscribe to Blue Squatch, subscribe to Inside the World of Box Lacrosse, and check out everything we do over at IL Inside Lacrosse, IL Indoor, and so much more. Adam, I'm going to let you get a plug in for all the other stuff you do in the next segment, because we are, I think, going over time. So we are going to come back with our awards section, looking at goalie of the year early on, and Americans in the NLL. Are they flourishing? We'll be right back after this break.
Thanks so much, everybody. Links all below in the description.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. For Stamper, Greg Beecher, I'm Adam Levy. For Inside the World of Box Lacrosse, make sure to check out the entire episode on Blue Squatch's YouTube.